Today's video is a bit of a montage of a recent trip I did to Mystic in Connecticut. Now, I'm sorry this isn't my normal kind of video, but in the current situation I'm sure you'll understand why. Now, just to get the elephant out of the room, I did visit Mystic Pizza, and I'm ashamed to say this is the only thing I knew about Mystic before I came here. And although it was really tasty, there's a lot more to Mystic than this. I arrived in town at the end of February 2020 and I hadn't done any research before I came here. This was just a complete random choice for me. I had flights into New York and just fancied getting out of the city for a while. So when I arrived in Mystic, I was quite surprised at how beautiful this town was. The walk from the train station takes about 10 minutes, and my first stop would be this Bascule Bridge which crosses the Mystic River and actually splits Mystic into two. You've got Mystic Stonington on one side and Mystic Groton on the other. Throughout Mystic's history there have been another couple of bridges over this crossing, but this one's been in operation since 1920. Now, I was here in winter so I didn't see the bridge open unfortunately, but during the summer it opens hourly, which would be really cool to see, but maybe not as cool for the traffic. One thing's for sure though, when the bridge does pitch up you wouldn't want to get in the way of these counterweights, 210 tonnes apiece. As well as its famous pizza movie, Mystic is also home to one of the best seaport museums in the world. Unfortunately, I turned up here just about an hour before it was going to close, so I wouldn't have done it justice, but I'm sure here on YouTube you'll find some amazing reviews of this place. You don't need to go to a museum though to see how important the sea still is to Mystic. It lives and breathes it. I was here of course in winter, but I'd love to come back in summer when the river is bustling with boats and activity. I did however speak to some locals who were saying they pretty much avoid Mystic altogether in summer because of how busy it is, so just bear that in mind as well. To take a break from all that sea air and walking, I can't think of anywhere better to go than the Sift Bakery. This is an award-winning bake shop right in the heart of Mystic. Now, the guys start work here at 3 o'clock every morning to ensure that every item is fresh that day, so it's a great place to pick up a sandwich or maybe something a little bit sweeter. Mystic's compact downtown area is a great place well geared up for visitors, and I would certainly recommend spending at least an afternoon here exploring the shops, cafes, restaurants and bars. Without doubt, my favourite thing to do was just to wander around the streets and explore. Mystic is packed full of historic buildings, and most of them will give you a fascinating glimpse into the past. While I don't want to turn this into a real estate video, just look at the architecture of these beautiful New England homes. They're an absolute dream, every one of them. Just seeing garages that are bigger than my apartment back home, well, that was starting to make me pretty jealous, and I was hurting even more when I saw this Airstream. I'll just have to pretend that this is an absolutely horrible place to live. But I tell you what, in reality, I'm sure there's no nightmares on this Elm Street. Just outside Mystic itself you'll find Old Mystic Village. Now this is really just a shopping area with either recreations or repositioning of some old buildings. It's a nice enough place for a wander, but nothing really authentic. I was just here for a chowder fest, or as the locals say, chowder. I'm always amazed and impressed in equal measure of how long Americans are prepared to stand in line, especially just for a wee sample of fish soup. So that was the sun going down on a cracking day in Mystic. Stay tuned for a look at the neighbouring towns of Noank and Stonington. The next day started with a chilly morning walk to Noank, which was about 2.5 miles from Mystic. Straight away I liked the feel of Noank. It felt more like a hidden gem away from its more famous neighbour, and this made it all the more appealing. Another filming location from Mystic Pizza is Ford's, but forget about the movie, I'm reliably informed this is home to the best lobster sandwiches in the whole area. All the boats here were well wrapped up for the winter, but Noank appears to be a great place to launch from, so I'm sure it'd be a lot busier in the summer. Again, I'd love to come back and see how different it is. But for now, I was happy to wander around this deserted historic village. Literally the only place to get a bite to eat in Noank was Carson's, and what a hidden gem this turned out to be. Inside was like going back in time with its soda fountain and old fridges, and a very nice breakfast as well. After breakfast I was able to walk around the whole of Noank in about 20 minutes, it really is that small, but it's also charming and grand at the same time. So yes, I find it quite difficult to sum up, especially on a winter's morning with little activity or sign of life outside of Carson's of course. But all I can really say is that this was probably my favourite place. It just felt a little less touristy and a little more real than Mystic, and that was good enough for me. That said though, there's not much to do here, in winter at least, so an hour or so is all you'll need. So there we go, that was my morning in Noank, and it was time for the walk back into Mystic. But stay tuned for a look at Stonington Borough, 5 miles or so the other side of Mystic. I'd been told that the architecture in Stonington was even more grand than in Mystic and Noank, so decided it was worth the 5-mile hike along the highway to get there. Oh, the penguin at Nathaniel's house? This is a shout out to his Antarctic expeditions. You'll first arrive at a very beautiful main square, but this sign suggests that I might not be welcome here. Thereafter, Water Street will take you down this narrow peninsula all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, lined with very expensive looking homes, and this was confirmed by a glance in the real estate window. Not much for me in Stonington, I'm afraid. It was nice to see the historic plaques on the houses here as well. I spotted some back to the 1700s and some a little more recent as well. Again, my aimless wanders continued in the empty streets of Stonington, but what a pleasure it was to explore, and I can see why this is another sought after movie location. Talking of movies, here's the actual Mystic Pizza filming location. And I also randomly spotted the Peg Leg pub, now known as Zach's Bar and Grill. The Portuguese arrived in Stonington in the late 1800s and they're still here to this day, as you can see here at the Portuguese Holy Ghost Society, another great place for Friday fish and chips. Oh, if I'm not mistaken, I can spot some of my people here too. And this old Episcopal church certainly wouldn't look out of place in Scotland either. As we look at Stonington's working harbour, a little bit about the confusing geography here. I believe this is called Stonington Borough, and Stonington itself extends all the way into the eastern side of Mystic. Just something to bear in mind as it confused me so much. If you're in Mystic and ask for directions to Stonington, they may well tell you you're already there. Stonington Point is the end of the road and almost the end of my video. From this tri-state viewpoint you can see Rhode Island off to the left, New York's Long Island straight ahead, and of course the chunk of Connecticut coastline you're standing on. To get to this beautiful part of the world, I took the 3-hour train journey from Penn Station in New York, but to be honest, you might be better renting a car. I was totally fine walking miles along the side of busy roads between towns, but it wouldn't always be practical. There was no public transport I could find connecting Mystic, Stonington and Noank, so I didn't have much choice but to walk the gauntlet. I did ask the cops though, and they said it was totally fine, along with a wry smile at this stupid British tourist. I stayed in an Airbnb on the Noank Road about a mile out of Mystic. Now I've stayed in a lot of Airbnbs and this one was right up there with the best, so I'll link it below in the description. It gave me the privacy of the full upper floor of a beautiful home with the kindest hosts you could possibly find. Mystic can be an expensive place to visit, especially in season, but this was incredible value and I'll be returning for sure. So that's about it from my trip to Connecticut. As I said at the start, I'm sorry it's not my normal content, but here's hoping we'll all be back to normal soon. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Take care and see you all soon.